The Arizona Senate race between Kirsten Sinema and Martha McSally remains too close to call, and people have been saying that it's part of the voter fraud thing that's being alleged in Florida and Arizona. And as I sat back and I thought about the results of the election, I realized that both candidates are only different in their varying level of support for Trump. So basically, both of them, for the most part, support Trump as members of the House, meaning that whether you voted for the Democrat or the Republican, you were just stuck with that person, or rather with someone that is in favor of doing things relating to him. Now, McSally, if I remember correctly, was about 80% or 90% in terms of her votes lining up with things in favor of his administration. And then Sinema was at over 60%. So you have two people who, a majority of the time, support his legislation. And then if you go in the comment section of any of the Fox videos, they're calling Sinema a socialist when she literally, for the most part, is in favor of Trump's nonsense. And I truly believe that if she had distanced herself while serving in the House in the last 2 years, in terms of voting against things that he was in favor of, she would have gotten more votes and probably been able to pull out a win. But this is the result of the lesser of two evils system. The other part of it is that now you have people who are blaming the Green Party candidate, whose name was, I think, Angela Green. Don't quote me on that one, but she received about 200,000 votes, and they're saying that she spoiled the vote in the same way that Nader spoiled the vote for Gore in the 2000 presidential election. Which again, both of those ideas lend themselves to the conclusion, which has not been proven, that the people, if not given the opportunity to vote for a third party, would have voted for the lesser of two evils. As I've said before, the way it used to work with these elections, where there were two candidates, one was pro-business, one was pro-labor, you voted for whichever one excited you. And now in the current era, regardless of who you are, you owe the Democrats your vote in every election. Even if they vote with Trump, as Sinema does a majority of the time, and we're supposed to believe this narrative that he's such a horrible, terrible guy, while they're putting in these candidates that are primarily in favor of his policies. So there's two different narratives being spun here, and I really wouldn't feel bad one way or the other about who wins. I will say that the people who mentioned the Democrats losing over and over and over again with these centrist candidates that try to act like a Republican, and then they get surprised and the Republican gets more votes than they do. They made a good point about if it takes the lesser of two evils losing to the quote unquote full evil, maybe they'll stop running someone that is very similar to the person they're running against. I'd rather that than just keep voting for these people and hope they change. So I feel bad for Arizona. They have the same problem that West Virginia had, where Manchin, Morrissey, and Blankenship were all three of the quote unquote candidates that were in the general election, were all in line with Trump for the most part. So again, your vote doesn't change. It does. You just the only difference is the name and the age of the person and party that you're supporting. But those policies, they just stay. They remain.